Welcome to the Department of Dual Language. This video will give you a brief history of dual language in PPS and explain a bit about our programs. The department oversees three programs: World Language. This is the traditional method for learning a language that typically starts at 6th grade or higher. Native Language Literacy, where we work with native speakers of the language to revive or improve their language skills. And Dual Language Immersion, where all the core subjects are taught in two languages. See, dual language is actually an umbrella term that includes a variety of instructional models, such as developmental bilingual education, where all the students are native speakers, both the early exit model and the late exit models. We don't offer these programs in PPS. And it also includes immersion programs, both one-way and two-way programs. The outcomes of these programs is that students reach high levels of language proficiency in two languages across all subject areas. Over 50 years of research in the US and other countries has shown that students in these programs have additional improved outcomes, such as mental health, academic performance, and preparation for the future. So let's review a bit about the history of immersion programs in Portland Public Schools. The first immersion program was established in 1986 at Ainsworth. It is a Spanish program and serves mostly native English speakers. In 1989, Richmond, the Japanese immersion program, was started. This is our only all-immersion school. All of our other programs are co-located with English-only neighborhood programs as well. In 1994, the Beach program in Spanish immersion was started, and 3 years later came Atkinson's Spanish immersion program. In 1998, the Woodstock Chinese immersion program was established. When it was first created, it did not reserve seats for native speakers. In 2005, Cesar Chavez and Rigler were started. These two programs were the first to be for the purpose of serving Latino communities. They, like the Beach and Atkinson programs, reserve half the seats for native Spanish speakers. Then in 2006 came Bridger, and Lent followed a year later by the Kelly Russian Immersion Program. At that time, we had a large Russian population in that area of the city. By 2011, the district's work toward racial equity was gaining momentum. The passage of the Racial Educational Equity Policy provided the momentum and support to adjust practices in all our immersion programs and make them levers for closing the achievement gap. In 2012, the Department of Dual Language Immersion was established and given the task of aligning programs and starting new ones. We later changed our name to just Dual Language. In 2014, James John, Sitten, King, and Roseway Heights were all started. The Roseway Heights program is the first Vietnamese immersion program in the state and one of a handful in the nation. The King program was established largely in response to outreach from the Albina Head Start program, where pre-K students were learning Mandarin. Members of the community were asking for an immersion pathway for these students so they could continue developing their Mandarin skills. That same year, the Woodstock program lottery was adjusted and placed on a path towards reserving half the seats for native Chinese speakers. And the Ainsworth and Richmond lotteries were increased to 15% reserved for native speakers. That brings us to today, but we're not done yet. Demand for expanding persists. Research on immersion continues to show great results all around, and our programs are very popular. Last year, over 250 families who applied to the lottery were unable to get in. So in 2016, new programs are scheduled to begin in Spanish and Cantonese Mandarin. But why are we really expanding? Well, remember what we talked about earlier with outcomes? We have an achievement gap in PPS. While some of our students do quite well, some don't. Historically underserved students lag behind white students in achievement, graduation rates, and almost all other indicators of success. Particularly struggling are English language learners. The research on programs that supports these students is really pretty clear. You see, for ELLs, the stakes for entering immersion programs are high. We know that when ELLs are in traditional ESL pull-out models, they really struggle. But when they are in dual language programs, particularly two-way dual language, they do really well. This is not true of our white students who tend to do well in the regular program. You see, by placing English language learners in language immersion programs, we close the achievement gap. So what's the goal of the Department of Dual Language? It's not actually just to make bilingual students. It's to support the district in its goal to close the achievement gap. Our strategy is by expanding dual language programs.